Hello, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? I'm actually happy to be back on track again. Today, I want to do a quick catch up with everyone in terms of training. I think a lot of regulars knew that I was sick for over a week, so I'm happy to just be back again and be able to catch up with everyone. And of course, most importantly, to put out a training session today. And while we're waiting for a few to start joining in the live stream, I just want to also take this opportunity to welcome our new subscribers. I really appreciate the growth the past weeks or the past days. So I've noticed that we have reached over 1,000 subscribers. So I'm very, very happy with that. Thank you so much for joining our community. And we hope to meet most of you on our community tab. A lot of you guys are also actively posting your comments and your channel. And before that, before we go on with the training, I just also want to um, take this opportunity again. I know I posted it on the community tab, but I just want to also um, kind of re-emphasize the community tab as a place for everyone to feel comfortable to post your channel name and of course to post what your channel is about. I want this to be a continuous trend in our community because as a small channel like myself, I do understand the journey that we have to go through as small channels in terms of subscribers and of course not just subscribers but also um, regular viewers or regular viewers in the channel. So please, if you haven't, don't be shy. Please post your channel name and what your channel is about. I've seen some of our regular content creator in the community who had already posted what their channel is about, and I think some of them really made some connections. So we have a bunch of different people in this community, and of course if you're not a content creator, of course you're also welcome to post anything you want on the community tab, whether you want to promote your brand, you want to promote your program, if you're actually do you want to do a shout out, if you're from Singapore or Philippines and many other places, feel free to use that community tab for your benefit as well and for everyone to basically connect. And so let's get into today's training. I want to talk about sales tips today. I posted a little poll on our community tab a couple of days ago, and I noticed that many of you guys would prefer that I speak about sales tips, or the topic should be about sales tips for today's live stream. So I'm very excited, and I hope that you are ready for today's training. For the first tip I want to give you, so I want to share with you the 12 sales tips that I've been holding on this material because I fell sick, but now I'm ready to put it out and share with you guys. And if you have any comments or any feedback, any questions, I've seen some people joining in the live stream now. Please feel free to, don't be shy. Just join the today's live stream. So number one, I just want to set the stage as well before I break down the 12 sales tips. Why do salespeople need to constantly train? Why do we always have to come up with new ideas? Why do we always have to learn new things? Even if I've been, let's say, selling for the past 5 years, 10 years, or maybe 2 years or something like that. The reason for that is every client you deal with have different needs, different lifestyle, different personality. And so it goes without saying that if you are in sales, just keep in mind that your role is not only to sell a product or a service. There's a lot of um, applications of your communication skills that can be very, very useful if you are in sales. So today's topic, I want to break down 12 basic, fundamental, smart tips plus one bonus tip at the end of today's live stream. So, number one, be prepared and be prepared in advance. A lot of salespeople, if you're meeting up with a client, the biggest mistake is you just go and see the client and hope you can get the sale. But what this means is be prepared and be prepared in advance. It means, hi Ace, good morning. What it means is don't just assume that just seeing the client is enough for you to make a sale. What I mean by be prepared in advance is make sure you've done your research about the client. If it's an old account, make sure you have access to your CRM, and find out what are the usage, what's the lifestyle, what are the needs, what is the problem. I think the main thing we need to really understand as salespeople is what is the problem of the client I'm going to see in 1 hour. The same thing with me as a content creator. I need to identify the problem of you as as a viewer of my videos. What are the salespeople's problem for me to be able to provide the solution, and for the salespeople to say, okay, I'll try that and it worked for me. So number one, be prepared and be prepared in advance. Make sure you know what is the problem of your client. Really know what is the problem, because the whole package of selling, they will all come together as you are face to face with your client. But what you need to do is find out what is their problem. We have some guys coming in, good morning or good evening. Again, number one tip, be prepared and be prepared in advance. It means before you see the client, before you even think about selling, identify to yourself what is the problem of Mr. Smith. Is it the budget? Is it the previous provider that he's using? Is he having bad experience with the current provider? Whatever product you're selling, you have to connect that with the topic that we're talking about today. So for instance, you are on health insurance, you're selling health insurance, right? Before you see Mr. Smith, you need to know what are his problems or what is his problem with his current insurance provider. Does he feel like he's overcharged? Does he feel like the coverage is not good enough for him? Does he feel like it's not suitable for his family? Really understand all these things before you see your client, before you start selling. Okay? So next tip, guys, focus and listen actively. So this is the part where you are already with Mr. Smith. One thing that you need to remember as a salesperson is you don't always have to be the one talking. This is a very common mistake of salespeople. We are confident people. Salespeople, we're confident, we're go-getter. The mission is to make a sale, full stop. But sometimes when we go and see the client and we over-exude our confidence and we over-talk and we oversell and we over-promote, what happens there is the client no longer have a chance to present other problems that you don't know or that he hasn't shared to you. It's really a very, very good point to keep in mind is you have to focus and listen actively when you're on the sales presentation. Let the client sell himself to you. A smart salesperson is always the least to talk. And that's the way you would succeed in terms of selling, because a lot of times when we feel that we only know 10% about this client, we want to go more than that. We want to know more about his problems. We want to know more about his needs and identify that by him revealing that to you by simply letting him speak. We have another viewer just jump in. Brandon. Hi, Brandon. Yes, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Absolutely. If you fail to prepare, you're already prepared to fail. Now, number 3, practice good pace. Now, again, this is very basic. This sounds very basic, but we know as salespeople, Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and we end up really speaking, too fast, or maybe the client no longer connects with you while you are in the midst of your presentation. It sounds very basic, but it's very, very useful for you to remember that you want to practice good pace when you're selling, especially face to face selling. It can be uncomfortable. What I feel about face to face selling is it can be uncomfortable because you can really see each other. There's advantage and disadvantages to that. And when you feel uncomfortable, that feels like, okay, I need to keep talking. There's no room for me to pause because it creates the uncomfortability during the presentation. But the truth is, the pausing is very important. The pausing is very good when you're in your presentation, especially with face-to-face selling, because it gives the client an opportunity to process what you have just said. If you keep talking, the client may not be able to process what you have just said, and what you have just said might be very, very critical to his decision making, whether he's going to buy or he's not going to buy. Okay, so just keep in mind, you need to practice good pace because it allows the client to process what you've just said, and it allows the client to identify his decision just from that particular pausing that you've done. Okay, so don't worry about pausing. It's important. It's part of selling, and it actually really in many times I feel that it gives the client an opportunity to say yes to you or to give you more buying signals. Okay, number 4, speak clearly and moderately. I think it's very basic again, but at the same time, I have experience dealing with salespeople who speak too fast or who speak overwhelmingly, and I can't even understand what he or she is trying to explain to me. If you are selling a very complex product, for example, you're selling an insurance program, right? There's a lot of terms. It can be overwhelming, especially when you're breaking down numbers, when you're breaking down some technical terms in there. If you're selling software products, it's the same thing. Whatever, the bigger the product, the more complex it is. Just remember that you need to speak moderately, because for you as a salesperson, you know what you're talking about. But the other person, the client, is basically unfamiliar with all these terms that you're throwing at him. When I was in my telemarketing days, one of the things I've learned is, and one of the things I keep in mind, the person I'm talking to is not a telemarketer, is not a salesperson. The person I'm talking to, I consider that as a trainee, assuming I'm a sales trainer and then my client is a trainee. So for me to execute a very effective training to my client in terms of product knowledge specifically, I need to make sure that I'm speaking clear and moderately, because that's the only way for me to make sure that my time is not wasted and I get the most out of that sales meeting. The way to lose sales, I will create a video about that. The list is endless, but the way to win sales as well is endless. So that's why not speaking or speaking moderately allows you to train your client to really absorb the product knowledge. And I think the best part with the part on your presentation when you really need to take it slow is when you're becoming technical, when there's a lot of terms and information that your client need to process. I think that's a very good tip. I hope you like that tip as well, because it's really true. A lot of salespeople fall into a lot of pits of mistakes where they feel like, I just need to speak fast, I just need to be confident, I just need to be a bit aggressive. But no, that's not really the way to sell, especially if you're selling to someone who you wish would spend a couple of $1,000s on the spot, right? So let's go to the next step. Mind your posture and what you want to exude when you're face to face with your client is you want to exude confidence, but at the same time, you want to exude trustworthiness. You want to look like a person who your client would trust based on your looks. Looks really counts in sales. I'm not talking about the physical attributes, I'm talking about how you carry yourself to your client, how your client perceive you as a person who would say, okay, is he trustworthy? And I've said this many times in many of my training videos. People buy because of you. Secondary, your product. And we are all guilty of that as buyers. We are all buyers at the end of the day, and we know that we usually would buy to someone that we like. And so, having said that, it's very important to really focus on your posture, how you sit, how you convey yourself, how you present yourself to your client. Yes, earlier we talked about the words, the pacing, the voice, the tone, but this time is how you actually present yourself to your client. Because at the end of the day, you want the client also to be comfortable with you and to trust you. And it goes without saying, when you're meeting a client, make sure you're dressed accordingly, professionally, you're groomed, you smell good, you look good, and of course, you look like someone whom your client would trust and sign a check and give you the deal on the spot. Okay, so that's very basic, but how many of us have actually met up with a salesperson and we feel like, oh man, I'm not sure if I want to write a check to this guy, or why does he look like he's so dodgy? So, really, just be mindful about how you also sell yourself. You sell the product and you also sell yourself. Next one, use simple and direct language. Okay, this is very, very, again, I like this personally, I like this one because when I'm selling to a client, I use very simple terms and simple language to him because I don't want to overwhelm him. A lot of times people don't buy because they're overwhelmed with the salesperson. But at the same time, if you use direct language, your client also feels like, okay, this person doesn't overdo the selling process. Have you ever experienced a salesperson who go around the bush, who talk too much, who would not even pause because the fear of being interpreted as pause being insecure, pause being inexperienced? But the truth is, if you actually use simple and direct language, your client also can see that your experience, you know what you're talking about. And finally, your client doesn't perceive you as a desperate salesperson. A salesperson desperation will reflect on how we speak and how we go around the bush and how too many words, too many unnecessary words on a specific topic or at a specific point in time in your presentation. Okay, so please make sure that you are very mindful about using simple and direct language. And this is the way for your client to really trust you as well. A person who you can't trust is someone who speaks too much words that are so unnecessary. Especially, I'm talking about salespeople. I'm talking about someone, whether you're doing telemarketing or you're doing face-to-face selling. So just be mindful of that. Next one, handle interruptions gracefully. So in the whole sales process, whether you're face-to-face or you're doing telesales, your client will always interrupt. It's their job to interrupt the salesperson. And they usually interrupt you with questions or objections. And you need to be able to handle or to master how to handle that gracefully, especially with face to face. Because if the client interrupt you and you're in the middle of, let's say you're in the middle of your flow, like every sales presentation, there is a flow. And if your client interrupts you, you kind of like, okay, what was I talking about? What was I saying? And your client can see your face if you look unhappy with that or you look annoyed with that. So just really be mindful with handling that gracefully, your body language, your face. And at the same time, it's the same thing with if you are actually on the telephone or if you're doing telesales, right? Your client can also sense if you were annoyed, if you were not graceful with handling the interruption. Okay, so that's a very basic tip, but please, how do, okay, if you ask me now, how do you handle interruption gracefully? If we're face to face, just be mindful of your face. Don't look like you're annoyed, or you just basically want to look willing. You want to show willingness with his inquiry. And same thing if you're actually on the phone, even if they don't see you, make sure that no reaction, no negative reaction comes out of you, but instead what you want to do is just to say, all right, Mr. Smith, please go ahead. Be very, very mindful of this. You know why? Because it doesn't matter how great your product is, but if your client will have just one moment of feeling turned off, that's it. Think of selling as a date, like when you're with a date, right? No matter how good looking you are and how well presented you are and how everything is going along just nice in the evening or on that date, all it takes is for you to turn off your date. Whether it's your face, it's the word that you said, it's your body language, and that will ruin the whole thing for you already. So just make sure that you also pay attention on handling your clients interruption. And if they interrupt you on let's say if they interrupted you because they have a question about the benefits, that's actually a good interruption. You want that type of interruption. If your client interrupts you, he is engaging or he's engaged. And when your client is engaged, the sale is in the process. Have you ever experienced selling to someone who has no reaction at all? You don't want that, because when the client has no reaction, chances are he's just going with the flow. He's just letting you finish your job. And that's the worst thing, because you want the client to really engage with you in order for you to keep finding problems. I want to say the word keep finding problems, not with you, but with your client. Okay. So if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and I will handle your interruptions gracefully. All right. So next one, guys, use silent strategically. I like this. This is one of my favorite when I was a telemarketer. This is one of the training I've learned when you're selling to a client, right? You need to use silent strategically. What does that mean? Silent is good. In fact, when I was writing one of my sales script for my telesales team before, I even have to indicate there, shh, because I want the salesperson to be reminded that you have to shush it at some point and many occasions in the entire sales presentation. And the purpose of that is very simple. Like I've said earlier, you want to give a good impression. You don't want to annoy the client. You want the client to give you an opportunity to open up and show you more problems about his lifestyle, his current product, and so on and so forth. And silence is good because it gives you an opportunity as a salesperson to recollect in your mind, what else have I not said? What else have I not done? Or what is my next strategy? So it's really important to understand that you can actually have silence in your call, in your presentation, if it's face to face. And also when you're face to face selling, right? When you need to be silent, what I recommend is your body language need to also exude a positive silence, not like this. You want to exude like that, like you're willing to, that you're deliberately being silent to welcome what your client have to say. Doesn't that make sense? And if you're a client, if you're a client, sorry, if you're a customer at this point, you also imagine the feeling that you have when your client, when your salesperson deliberately show you, I'm listening, I'm pausing for your own benefit, I'm happy for you to speak, it's your turn to speak, Mr. Smith, and I'm happy to hear you out. You know what they say, words, sorry, actions are stronger than words, right? It's the same with selling. We need to be mindful about how our actions are louder than words. So when you're dealing with the client, when you're face to face with your client, just keep in mind that your actions are actually stronger than words. And this helps or breaks the opportunity for you to get that sale. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's a very, very, very good point to ponder on and to keep using when you're meeting a client and you're proposing a product. Next one, guys, avoid fillers. So avoid fillers. I personally, um, when I was at the beginning of my content creating or my very first video, which I still think is the cringiest video of all time, I think I said 1 million times on that first video. Second video, it got lesser and lesser. Third video, and so on and so forth. So what you need to remember is avoiding fillers, not necessarily eliminating it, because there's no way you can just totally say, okay, I cannot have any because you're not a robot, and your client needs to feel that you're still a person, you're still a human, and you're still organically making in between fillers. So that's perfectly fine. So avoid too many fillers. That's what I wanted to say. And how do I avoid too many fillers? Make sure you've done enough rehearsals and practices before you make your presentation, before you get on to your first client. And I think just on a side note, in my experience in sales, because salespeople, every minute counts, every day counts. So sometimes companies don't really invest on a lot of time training and retraining and rehearsal for salespeople. Comment down below if you agree on that point. Because a lot of businesses would say, okay, if I train my sales team today, I'm losing sales today because they're not selling, they're just training. But my mindset as a salesperson changed when I became a sales trainer, changed because I realized that if my sales team is not equipped enough with the sales skills they need, if my sales team doesn't have the right communication skills, which they work hand in hand together, they are together, they have to work together. It's one thing to be a good salesperson, but a good communicator, that's another story. That would really boost your sales. And this is one thing, again, in my playlist. If you have not explored my playlist, I've got some communication skills training, and I want to also cover that in one of the live stream, because you need both. Basically, it's like you have a meal and you have vitamins, and training is like your vitamins. You need to constantly take it, because even if you have meal every day, these are additional supplements that helps you to boost your skills. So I digress. So what I mean by training and rehearsal before you see a client, it helps you to perfect your style. It helps you to perfect your way of speaking. And doesn't matter if you're face to face, doesn't matter if you're on the phone or your phone selling. The most important thing to remember is, have I done enough practices? Have I done enough role playing? And in one of the video, I want to give you one example. If you've missed one of the video before, in that video, I talked about recording yourself when you are actually doing a presentation. So if you're doing telesales, my advice, get your handphone. When you're dialing and when you're about to speak to someone, just record yourself. It's for your personal use. And then after that, end of the day, you listen to your presentation. You can identify how you sound. You can identify how you actually appear on that call. Now, question is, what if Majoy, I'm face to face with the client? Face to face with the client is very simple. Okay, of course you cannot record yourself while you're face to face, and that's why you need to rehearse a lot with your team lead or with your manager before you really get on your first face-to-face sales meeting, because there's no turning back. This is really like I would say it's like going for an audition. When you're doing face-to-face selling, it's like going for an audition. Really, it's not only selling, it's also really selling yourself. It's like saying, I need to get that role, I need to get that job. So if you're a small business owner, I know that Brandon is one of our regular viewers. He is a small business owner, right? So when you see the client, it's really important to remember that it's like I'm applying for a job. It's like I'm auditioning for something really big, because once I leave that room, someone else, your competitor, will be the next person to be at the door and ready to grab that deal with your client. So it's not always about the product. And of course, it's also making sure that you have really rehearsed enough before you conduct yourself to your client, because you don't want to have a lot of mistakes. And there will be mistakes, and that's perfectly normal. But you don't want to make too many of them when you're face to face or when you're on the phone. All right, now moving on. Next one, guys. Ending with clarity. Okay, when you're actually face to face with your client, or when you are telesales or telemarketing with your client, what you need to remember as well, guys, is, and this is applicable especially if your client did not buy. Okay, this is very, very critical advice as well, because a lot of times when and this is the reality, when your client totally rejected your offer, they didn't buy, right? What happens is it affects, because we're humans, it affects your emotions, your mood. Your mood suddenly changed because your client said, no, sorry, Majoy, I'm not really, let's say you talked to him for half an hour, right? And he suddenly say, look, I'm really not interested. This is not really for me. Your mood, I can guarantee you, will drop. Your enthusiasm will drop without a doubt. But making sure that you're ending your meeting with him with clarity, it means you still want to find out. You just want to make sure that if it's a no and it's a no, we just have to move on. But make sure that everything is clear with your client. Like you've done a great job yourself in terms of presenting to your client your product, because he might have said no to you because you were not so clear about the package, or the client might just be confused about the rate or the terms and conditions. So very important, guys, to really be, this is basically like a checklist, if you may, to yourself before you really end the sales meeting. Really, still to the last minute, make sure that you ask your client and you just refer to the benefits. Okay, this has nothing to do with any other stuff on your presentation, but just really understand, Mr. Smith, you know what, I do appreciate your time. I can understand today is not the right time for you to make a decision, and I still will hope I could welcome you to the program. Can I just make sure, check with you that everything is very clear with you in terms of the benefits? So for the main benefits, Mr. Smith, I've mentioned you will be entitled to 50% for this package, and the coverage will be within your area and including international coverage. This is just a little role play, right? And then if you say, "Oh, I was not so sure. I didn't understand." So I can also use it overseas. Yeah, Mr. Smith, this is also, let me just share with you again the coverage, etc., etc. This can happen. This can really happen because it's not because you made a mistake. It's because referring to the very beginning of what I was saying earlier, our clients have the tendency to be overwhelmed with the benefits. Because just imagine if I am reading to a friend, let's just say I'm talking to a friend. I catch up with a friend and say, "Hi, I got a new job now. I'm selling health insurance." And then my friend would say, "Oh, really?" And then you say, "Yeah, in this, I work for this company." And then you break down the coverage and the benefits and so on and so forth. I can guarantee you your friend would not be able to understand everything in your presentation because it can be really overwhelming to basically absorb all the information. So the same thing with your client. There is always a room for them to be overwhelmed with the information you're giving them. So please make sure that before you totally end your meeting, for the very last time, it's like you're not giving up to the last point, but you're not pushing. You're not begging for sale. What you need is a strategy and just really going back again to the benefits and say, "Mr. Smith, let me just ask you a few more questions. With the dining benefit and your accommodation benefit, or if it's health insurance, with your coverage, is that clear with you that you can also use this abroad? Because I know you travel a lot. I know you go to America or Canada or Asia or Middle East for business. You're aware that your health insurance also covers this region." What if you say, "Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I wasn't really understanding that part." Okay, okay, no problem. Let me explain to you how it works. So the sales process is always so complex. It's so different on every client. Always going to be different. And it comes back to my intro on this video, which is simply saying the reason why salespeople need to constantly train, needs to constantly access fresh ideas like the ones I have on my channel is because you need to have new ideas every single time, every single day. And I'm also training myself when I do my content creating here for you guys. I'm all obviously retraining myself on ideas that probably I thought about before, or probably I forgot I knew before, or something I've learned along the way, or something just clicked. So really understand the last advice is to really end your call or your sales meeting with your client with clarity. You want to make sure that everything is clear before he completely would say no to you. Or if we say, "Look, I'll consider, I will make a decision in a week. Let's catch up in a week from now." So that's something you want to really aim. If he's not buying today, this can happen and there's nothing wrong with that. But you want to aim for still getting the sale in a week from now. And to do that, you got to make sure that you're clear. Everything is clear with your client, because confusion, misunderstanding is a poison to your sales. If your client is not completely aware of the whole package, of the whole coverage, of his savings, of the solution you're giving him, he may not be deciding to buy. And there's another salesperson at the door waiting for him or her to get that sale from you. Okay, so I promised a bonus tip for all of you. Okay, so please make sure that you haven't closed this video. If you're watching on replay, this is very, very, very useful. Okay, so when you're doing follow-ups, when you're following up a client, what do you usually do? What is your method and what is your style when you do your follow-ups? Please comment down below on the comment section if you want to share your style. and how do you follow up your clients? Typically, you send an email, typically, you send a text message, typically, you call back, right? So these are the three common practices when you're following up a client. Still referring to today's topic, right? To the ending with clarity. Let's say you clarified the benefits to the client and he's not really ready. That's fine. You still want to end your meeting professionally. You still want to say, Mr. Smith, I really appreciate your time today. I honor your request to be followed up in a week from now because you needed time to consult or consider this with your partner. I would definitely honor that, and I would be happy to contact you again on the date that you have actually requested. So that's done, right? So you handshake and you move on with your life. So my bonus tip is when you're going to follow up Mr. Smith again, you want him to remember you from that entire session. And the only way to do that is to create a personalized follow-up approach. Text message will not do that for you. Email will not do that for you. Call, maybe 50%. But the method that I thought about, this is very original. Now we are all using handphone as a method to create video or voice message. So you do have two options. You create a voice message as your follow-up, but personally, I would go for a video message follow-up. So here is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to basically, I'm going to create a very simple video message to my client. Let's say I'll click record. Make sure the camera is on you. Make sure you're in an environment where it's conducive to recording a video. You're not like in the bus, you're not in the train, you're not in the metro where it's crowded. Select a very conducive area to create your video message. It's a follow-up message. So how I would do it, just a role play. Hi, Mr. Smith. It was so great to see you today. Thank you so much for your time. I do recognize that you need time for me to follow you up. You requested to be called back on the 5th of November at 5 p.m. I will hear from you again. Again, please don't forget your core benefits. What you really need today is to consider ABC benefits, and these benefits are suitable for your family and for yourself. And don't forget, sir, if you join, you're still eligible to get your $3,000 credit for your annual insurance. So looking forward to hearing from you again. I'll speak to you on November 5th. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Have a good day. Bye. That's it. You can jazz it up your way. But the most important thing about that follow-up video is your client can see you again. Your client can hear your voice again. Your client can see how enthusiastic you are. Your client probably would say, wow, I've never received any video message from any salesperson. No one has ever done that. So you stand out. How would you feel if somebody sent you a voice message as a follow-up? It's personalized, but don't overdo it. You've seen my example there. Probably like less than 30 seconds. The idea is not to film, a video to your client. The idea is a video message. But what I want him to take from that video message is I want him to remember how I sound. I want him to connect again to my face, just like how when I did my face-to-face meeting with him. I want him to be reminded of the savings in terms of the $3,000 he's eligible to save. So these are the three things that should come across on that video message. Nothing more, nothing less. How does that sound to you? So like I said, text message will not do that for you. Email will not do that for you. How many emails and text message do you receive from salespeople following you up that you never really care so much about? I am, because it's just I can read that and the connection is not there. So really, really be mindful about how you want to strategically position yourself in 2025 when you're doing follow-ups. I'm very excited about this tip or this particular material that I actually created, because a lot of salespeople, we tend to just follow up and annoy the client. We bombard them with texts, we over message them, and that's not the right way to go. The right way to go is to say quality over quantity. I don't need to chase you every day. I don't need to message you every day, because that's how you lose your sale. When your client is over chased, it's a turn off. And we all experience that as customers ourselves, right? So try that and let me know how that works for you. I wish I'm selling today. I really wish I'm selling so I can test it. Just, of course, when you do the video message, remember it could ruin your sales opportunity or it could make your sales opportunity. Remember, do it at the right place, like this, quiet, no distraction. And if you want to rehearse a couple of times and video it, do it. And then you can select which one looks more likable. You want your client to like that voice message. You don't want the client to say, oh man, why is this girl calling me or messaging me? Okay, so just remember those tips that I've mentioned today and the bonus tips I would like for you guys to try. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's great. I think it's fresh, just in time for 2025. So I hope that all of you are able to enjoy today's training session. I'm getting better. I'm still struggling to speak and still a bit congested, if you can hear that, but I'm really happy to get on my recovery. End of the year is coming, so let's keep training and let's keep getting better with our sales skills. So before I close today's training, if you have any questions, now is the time to send a message. We had Meet Ace and Brandon who joined. And if you actually are unable to join today's live stream and you're watching the replay, I will put the timestamp on the tips that I've mentioned, so you actually can really select by chapters and be able to take note of the tips that I've given you. Thank you again for joining today, and I hope you guys are doing well. And I'm excited to be back. Let's train, let's keep going, and I'll see you on the community tab again to the 1,000 something new subscribers. I really, really, really appreciate every single one of you. I think the last time I checked earlier, we are on 1,188. That's a very good number. That's a lucky number for Chinese when you have the 8. So I'm happy with that. Let's keep growing. I appreciate everyone's support to this growing channel. Again, in closing, I just want to highlight as well, because I've seen some guys who just joined in. Hi there. If you are actually new to the channel and you are a content creator as well, like myself and many others, please don't be shy to post on the community tab your channel name, what your channel is about. This is one thing I promote very heavily on my channel, because I want everyone to grow in terms of subscribers, in terms of regular viewers, and just really create a community for new channels and small channels to grow. I do believe that 2025 will be the turning point for new channels to really make it. And now is the time to really build it up. Just keep building up your channel. And in one of the videos I have prepared that I've yet to record, I already wrote my materials, but I just need to record it when I'm completely recover. I will talk about also how being a salesperson and how applying your sales skills can really work to your advantage as a content creator. My channel is not about content creator. Let me be clear. But my channel, I feel like as I progress my way as a content creator, a lot of application of my sales skills can be very useful if I want to really grow and advance my channel to the next level for 2025. So many of you are content creators in this channel, so let's talk about that in one of the videos. And for now, of course, today's training session is also to give more ideas to those who participated on the poll where you all requested for sales topic, which I hope today was good. I think today was a great training session. And if you don't have any more questions, I can still see some people watching. And thank you again. I really hope you guys, thanks for being patient. A lot of them sent me some kind messages during the time I was sick and had said, we'll be here when you come back. So I think that really means a lot to someone who's sick and just worried about being disconnected with your viewers. So I'm here reconnecting with everyone, and I hope that you are, enjoying or you have enjoyed today's training session. So before I close today's live stream, again, if you missed the beginning of this will be on replay. It will be on the live stream replay. Okay, so don't worry if you join in halfway through or towards the end. Okay, so thanks again for today. I'll prepare the timestamp now for you guys to see the chapters if you want to watch this after I close the live stream. I will see you on the next one. I'll be filming some videos. I'm aiming to do that by the end of today. Just get my voice together, get my health completely 100%. I think I'm right now, I would say I'm 90%. So I really hope to be completely back on track and just get my full force energy again for our training session. So thanks again for joining today's live stream. Please watch the replay. This is actually really a good topic for you to use in your small businesses, sales, job, all industries. Sales is sales. It will be the same no matter what you're selling. It's just really yourself will have to be different, ahead of the game, original, authentic, brilliant. You have to be brilliant as a salesperson. That's why we keep training. We're training for that to get to that point. Okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate you all. I'll see you on the community tab. Don't be shy, okay? Please communicate with our fellow content creators, our viewers. Even if you're not content creator, you really mean a lot as well in this community. So let's keep growing, and I'll see you on the next training session. Bye, guys. Take care.